Oh, what is
Man,
anybody?
the chat knows what's up.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What is
Welcome
going
back.
on?
Somebody's got to do the hey-o.
Hey-o. That's
Bill.
good old Bill, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're missing Bill tonight. Missing Nate. He's out sick, and Brent's got some work to do. So we are 4 strong here with our guests tonight. So we want to give a shout out to our man. We got a live chat just going already, man. They were jumping in. So shout out to Alex Carney. We got Furt in the Dirt, of course, LTZ. We appreciate, man. It's like every week you're here. We enjoy you hanging out with us. And Lawn Sauce, our Aloha friend, he said something about a Pacific Ocean lag. I don't know if that means because we were late. We were running on Hawaii time. I don't know, man. But shout out to all the guys in live chat. We appreciate you guys showing up every week and hanging out with us on the lawn, talking grass stuff.
Yeah, buddy.
So, well, we gotta grab our glasses here. So, without further ado, before we jump into this, let's everybody grab a glass and keep off the grass.
Yingling.
Yingling.
Ding dong.
Ding dongs.
Don't start.
Ding dong.
What are you drinking? You got the Mountain Dew and Tito's?
Yeah, that's my go-to. That's why I'm getting fat. It can't be these nuts.
These nuts.
All right, we ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, Olee, who do we got on tonight?
All right, well, tonight we had the pleasure of learning about some hoses and pressures from a man. You got to say it right. Rod. Sorry, I messed it up. It is Rod from Big Sprinkler. And I've chatted with him a good bit over the last year, and he's taught me a lot about, friction loss, pressure, and, gallons a minute and a lot of things. So you can't just go out and buy the badass big sprinkler they got and run it off a hose bib. So tonight he'll be teaching you that although we want that big, what's the biggest one? Is it like I know y'all make a 1500, you got a 1250. Is it a 2000? Is that the biggest cart?
3,000.
3,000?
Yeah, it's a 3-inch, which stands for 3-inch gun cart. Yeah, it handles up 500-700 gallons a minute.
500-700 gallons a minute.
Shoo, yeah.
Dang.
And Olee, we got about 50 people watching, and I think you and Rod came up with some kind of little thing going for our guests tonight. You want to announce that real quick for those that are already listening on the chat?
Yes, sir. It'll be two lucky winners tonight. So stick with us.
Stay tuned.
So, yeah, who we talking to? We're talking to Rod from Big Sprinkler.
Yes, sir.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to just get on here and just talk a little bit about Big Sprinkler and irrigation. Obviously, you guys, I've seen some of your lawns. Olee's lawn is unbelievable. But I've gotten to know Olee over the years, and actually last maybe 2 years we've been talking. And so it's cool to see kind of what you guys have started and this podcast and your fescue freaks and all that stuff. That's pretty cool stuff. So I was glad to have the opportunity to come and talk to you guys. So I work with Big Sprinkler. It's bigsprinkler.com. And really, Big Sprinkler started out of an ag irrigation company that's still going on today, but the owner of that started maybe in 1980-ish, in the 80s. Been a little over 40 years doing that. But, doing the bigger irrigation stuff with ag, they had access to the bigger sprinklers, and people that couldn't or didn't need the big, like center pivot or some of the big stuff wanted, hey, how can I just get one of these big guns? And so what's really cool is he saw a need there and people asking, saying, hey, like we have a well or we have a pump, want something that's different than what you can buy at the big box stores, just your garden hose type sprinkler. So they started bigsprinkler.com. It was around 2009. When I got to know him and he was telling me about it, I was like, man, you couldn't have got more lucky with that name, finding that name available, bigsprinkler.com, especially for Google, because most people are looking for a big sprinkler. So it works out great.
Yeah.
But I'm starting my 8th year here. Jumped at the opportunity to work for an online, e-commerce business, and started doing that 7 years ago. And so basically we're an e-commerce business, and we make most of our stuff here as far as the carts and the sleds and our sprinkler heads, our commercial grade heads that come over from Italy. And that's kind of what really kind of set us apart. Is one is the quality of the stuff that we make, and it's different. Nowadays, I think you can find these 2-wheel sprinkler carts. There's other people that have copied and replicated kind of what we came up with, which I guess can be flattering. But the quality that we put into our stuff is what really, I think, sets us apart, and then is what we strive for. Is one, quality, and two, is providing customer service, which, if anyone that's bought stuff online knows, it's hard to get good customer service when you're buying stuff online, whether that's getting able to get to somebody that's knowledgeable. First of all, just getting to somebody, but secondly, getting to somebody that's knowledgeable about sprinklers and irrigation and water hydraulics, that kind of stuff. But then with all of that, also creating and building these products, a lot of the components for these products here in our own shop, and quality testing them, and these are all things that we've developed here and come up with, and had the opportunity to create an online store, and it's really taken off from there, 2009. And so we're going strong, and we've been adding new products over the years, and some different variations to the our kind of original products. So that's kind of what people ask, hey, what's the difference? I would say quality and customer service that you get with us is probably the biggest thing that we strive for, and strive to do for our customer base.
So do you just sell sprinklers, or do you sell hoses? Do you sell heads?
Yeah, so we sell individual heads. We sell the stuff that we make here would be the stands that the sprinklers go on, like the 2-wheel carts, sled base, like the sleds that for lawns. We make that stuff here. The heads we sell individually. We sell pumps, gas pumps, electric pumps, booster pumps, hoses, pre-made hose assemblies, from garden hose to your lay flat hoses that go on up from 1 inch, all the way up to 4 inch, or if you need it bigger, we could get that as well. And then we sell, one of our biggest things is our complete irrigation kits. That's just where we've already combined the sprinkler cart and sprinkler head with the right pump that matches the pump's performance to optimize the sprinkler's performance. And so yeah, we sell a variety of things. And probably about 4 years ago, we started really catering more to the residential demographic. So a lot of our stuff obviously is big, and we do have some stuff that could run off of a garden hose. But about 3 or 4 years ago, we came out with the sled-based sprinklers that are 3/4 inch or 1 inch, that are designed to run off. Majority of people that they're hooking a garden hose to their spigot on the side of their house. So, and that's, even though your performance is going to be pretty similar from just a regular sprinkler, goes back to, again, to the quality, the commercial grade stuff that you're going to get for residential use, but it's made extremely well. But you're not going to throw it out after the first year like you normally would. So we still have a variety of things on our website.
And these sprinkler kits that you were talking about, they come with the pump or whatever. You guys have those for residential. So if I wanted a bigger kit for my house, and I'm only getting maybe 45, I don't know, my pressure is 45 or whatever.
You're talking about electric?
Yeah, you could.
You want an electric booster?
Put a pump in there? Yeah.
Yeah. So we have booster pumps for that application, and we get a lot of these calls where even if they're on a well and they're running just a garden hose, and they have maybe 45 pounds of pressure, but yet they want to run quite a bit of hose to get out there, but they have a lot of pressure loss in that process. That's where a little electric booster pump comes in great, and that'll boost your pressure up. Now, one of the common things with booster pumps that we try to let people understand is that booster pumps don't change your flow rate. So if you're getting 10 gallons a minute out, and say it's at 40 pounds of pressure, a booster pump will take that 10 gallons a minute and add another 30 to it. So it spits out 10 gallons a minute at 70 pounds instead of 40. So that's what booster pumps do. For residential type with garden hoses, that would be more of an application. But yeah, we do have products like that. The bigger gas pumps and stuff would be more for if you're pulling out of a pond or a river or creek, or hooking up to like a big storage tank, and then you can pump out of that and then use the gas pump. And you're moving big water there. You're running 1.5 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch hose. You're past the garden hose stage there. So we fit a large demographic from residential garden hose, 50-foot garden hose, covering 40 foot, all the way up to 3-4 inch running hoses, to big 3 inch gun carts that'll do 500-600 gallons a minute, doing 500 foot circles. So everything in between is what we cover. So it's a pretty broad range, and that's kind of when we talk about customer service, and we kind of really pride ourselves on educating customers, because that's important for us is the customers know what they're getting. They're not just buying something. No, hey, love Amazon, but unless they've got really good descriptions and stuff, if it's something you don't quite know, you're just going to buy it. There's no one really telling you, hey, let's qualify you first and see what you got, or what are you trying to do here. And that's where like some of the bigger stuff we really work and educate. It's important, and people get a chance to learn something too. It's water hydrolysis is really the main thing that we talk about, which, I mean, who's going to learn about water hydraulics unless you're in the business? I know I didn't know anything about it when I started working here. I was telling them earlier, it's like, just turn on the spigot, hook my hose up to it, hook a sprinkler up to it, and just hope I get a lot of coverage out of it. And why is it not working? I don't know. So we help customers through those issues and kind of breaking it down and explaining, hey, this is why this is happening, and this is what products we have that can help change that, or here's a better version of the product you have now. So
Rod,
oh, go ahead.
We've got a very inquisitive chat tonight, so there's a lot of questions coming in. A couple people have asked, with big sprinklers, do you guys actually do in-ground heads? And then kind of a second question to follow up with is they want to know how this big sprinklers can hold up to hard water. If you could talk to those two things.
So we don't do in-ground systems. We do use on some of our products the rotor heads, Rainbird rotor heads that you would see in a commercial in-ground system, whether it's the 3/4 inch Rainbird 5000 series or the bigger 1 inch rotor, which is the Falcon rotor. And we use those mainly. I'm a big fan of those heads, mainly because Rainbird does a great job with their nozzles to help kind of naturally create a rain curtain effect and really disperse the water well. But as far as in-ground systems, we get a lot of calls that hey, start talking about in-ground systems, and now all of our stuff is above ground portable for people that can't afford or don't want to invest in an in-ground system, or you're on a big acreage and it just doesn't make sense to put an in-ground system. This is where our products come into play, mainly because it's portable, and then obviously the heavy-duty commercial aspect of it. So
also dust control, it's nice for dust control.
Huge demographic as well of our customers is dust control. A lot of horse arenas, that people with horse arenas that need to control the dust when they're riding, or if they're doing riding lessons, things like that. Our products come into play.
You can't have a dusty head,
No.
So what, they just keep it wet? They just try to keep it wet all the time?
Yeah. So depending on the footing of their arena, they'll either wet it and then drag it before they ride or before they're going to do lessons. But I think it's on one of our blogs that we have on our website that talks about. I've actually talked with a veterinarian that dealt with horses, and he just kind of I interviewed him just about kind of the impact of dust on horses, which I never really, I didn't grow up in that world, but there's a big impact of that and keeping dust down, not only for the human rider, but for the horse as well. So dust control is a big thing with horse arenas and stuff like that. Also construction sites, they've got to, usually if you're doing construction on a big area, usually the city or somebody's saying, hey, you need to control the dust that is blowing around. So they'll use that for construction sites, for mining, a lot of them big mining facilities, on piles of coal and stuff. They'll do that to control the dust on that. We have a lot of logging companies because they got to keep those stacks of logs wet. There's a lot of things that I never even thought of before I started working here on how sprinklers are actually used for different demographics of businesses or personal use. So what was that other question? I'm sorry.
How it holds up to hard water.
Hard
They
water.
had issues, yeah.
Yeah, hard water is going to affect anything. And that does come into play at times. Just because maybe it's a commercial grade sprinkler. I mean, there's aspects of a commercial grade sprinkler that are different from a, big box store cheap sprinkler. But hard water, the biggest effect hard water can do is affect your internal seals. And just the buildup of it can cause some added friction when it's trying to rotate, especially like an impact type sprinkler. That'll any kind of added friction between the seals as that impact arm is bouncing off the spray. As it moves, it can help bind it up. So hard water that's a hard thing, especially if you're on a well. Different wells have different qualities. I know our water out here is really heavy in iron. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's impervious to hard water, but
Yeah.
as far as just your regular maintenance stuff, trying to keep them clean and not let that build up, because that'll affect any sprinkler.
Yeah. So another thing, some people are curious, is bigsprinkler.com the only place to get big sprinklers?
Pretty much the only company that we have partnered up with is AM Leonard.
Okay.
AM Leonard is out of Ohio. They approached us, and as we looked at kind of what their product line is and kind of what makes them different from other stores, it kind of aligned with what we do and how we do it. So we opened up. We have the 1,000 or 1-inch cart. We don't sell everything through them. It's just a select few items that they sell that we sell through their site, and they've got a whole different group of customers as well. They reach a lot of people. They've been around forever, but mainly it's been bigsprinkler.com, and we sell in the U.S. and to Canada. So
Okay.
All right. And hey, I see the sleds that you guys got on here. The jump, those are pretty neat. And I was looking at you guys' website right now, and do you guys just sell the sleds itself? Like if I already had my rotor sprinkler.
We do. We don't list that individually on the website because I think we tried that at the beginning, and then people were ordering the sled thinking the sprinkler came with it, and then we were getting all these calls like, "Where's our sprinkler?" Because they were choosing it because it was cheaper than the one with the head. It was like, okay, so really we just sell it as a together. But we do have people that say, "Hey, can I just get the sled only?" And usually you're going to call in for something like that. If you want to add your own head, or even if you buy it and want to add your own head later or a different style of head, some people will buy an impact sled and then they'll buy a rotor head to switch it out, or a wobbler head. Our sled bases are standard 3/4 inch male thread. So you can screw most anything that's residential wise. Any head that you buy, whether it's cheaper or one of ours, you can use on that. The sled base itself is kind of the whole key of that. It's 3/16 inch thick steel. It's powder coated. We don't paint stuff. We get them powder coated. The underneath pass through stuff, all of it's heavy steel, brass. If you compare it to any of those sled you buy from the store, it's night and day. I mean, it's not something you typically see.
I'm just
like,
getting
this
sick
is
of
a residential quality deal. This is most people that get it are like, wow, I wasn't expecting it to be this heavy duty. Not for residential.
We'll send a couple pictures.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the wall sled there.
And that's
one
good.
of my favorites.
That head right there is really unique. It's a great head for, now it won't cover a huge distance, but maybe a total width of 40 feet but it's great for low pressure, low flow, and it's great for soaking. It's nice for new grass seed because it's low impact. The water is low impact because it's more like sprays water up and out everywhere. That thing spins and wobbles at the same time, so it just randomly throws water out everywhere. It's kind of like
it mimics rainfall.
Exactly. So like for flower gardens, new grass seed, it's great to sit in the spot and just let it go. It's about the only sprinkler you can actually turn the spigot down and have it still operate right. So
Yeah, I'm loving these sled designs because you think of some other sprinklers. You're trying to pull it, trying to push it across the lawn, it gets snagged, and I think this is a great idea to do this sled.
True. That's true.
Yeah, it just
it weighs about
over.
6 pounds is what that sled weighs. I mean,
I have an issue with that a lot. Right now, I use about 6 or 7 inch spikes, and I have a rotor on top of that. Well, after about 45 minutes, that ground next to it just gets too soft, and it starts falling over and it starts hitting my neighbor's window, and I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah.
So having a sled would be amazing. Yeah.
Sleds, we came out with the jumbo sled, which is pictured there right now. That was kind of our first sled design, and that's a 1/4 inch thick steel right there, and the head on there is a 1 inch head. The nozzle set, that's something else too I was going to explain. With our sprinklers, we actually send a set of nozzles. So a lot of people don't even know, like, what do you mean by a set of nozzles? If you buy a sprinkler at the store or Home Depot or whatever, you get what you get. I mean, they're only going to have a nozzle in there. And I tell people nozzles is what allows you to kind of fine tune the sprinkler to match your flow and your pressure. Because your ultimate goal is to get a rain curtain effect, where the water's breaking just right. So it's an even coverage. You're not going to have green donuts out there in your yard, because there's no water in the middle of that arc. So we send the set of nozzles because not everyone has the same flow or the same pressure. This particular sprinkler head right here is the nozzle set that comes with it allows it to work with, it's a 4 millimeter through a 7 millimeter, which it can work on 6 gallons a minute, or it can go on up to about 15 gallons a minute, which your standard spigot garden hose off the side of a house, you're generally going to be in that 7 to 8 gallon a minute range at about 50 pounds of pressure normally. So this is what we started out with when we've had the wheeled carts. That's what we started out with, was wheeled carts. But then we looked at the sled design, came up with this design, got the steel bent, powder coated it, put this particular head on it. It works great with the garden hose just because you can put a number 4 nozzle on it. But it's really big. That ship weight on that's like 11 pounds. Like I said, it's 1/4 inch steel. So what we decided to do, the more and more residential people that started ordering our stuff, and maybe they didn't have enough to really make this work right, or they were wanting it, putting a bigger nozzle, it's just not going to work. So we decided to make more of a residential version, which is what the green sleds are. And that's a little bit of a thinner steel, and it's 3/16 inch thick. So it weighs about 5 pounds, 6 pounds. And then we put the 3 different head combinations on there: an impact head, the rotor head, and then the wobbler head. Those are the 3 versions right there. And those will be actually what we're going to be giving away for 2 lucky people. Will get a choice of one of those 3 there.
Oh shit!
Yeah, we should probably do that. We should probably do one of them soon.
Yeah, we need to start gathering some names. So you guys heard it. Rod is basically giving you guys a little bit of the taste of the big sprinklers tonight. So he's graciously said he was going to give out, you said 2, right? 2 of these sled sprinklers, whether it's the rotor impact or the wobbler. So to show Rod a little love, we're going to type in big sprinkler into the live chat, and we'll gather up names, and we'll do one randomly, and then we'll do one a little bit later on in the show. So get those entries in, type in big sprinkler while we're talking more about big sprinkler.
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button.
These are the podcasts. I'm just like, man, I wish I wasn't a part of this podcast. I want to be in that chat. I want to win something like that. That's nuts.
Yeah, that's what I told him. That's what I told him earlier. And his joke was, I was going to mess with you and say we're going to give away one of the gas-powered big kits. And I was like, man, you better.
Always been wanting one of those for a while. He's been dreaming
have.
about it. So I was like, man, that'd be really mean if it's like, dude, I'm going to give away one of those. I don't think the owner would be too glad if I gave away one of those. But
I like
no,
to have
those are cool.
I like to have about a 3,000 gallon tank and fill it up overnight and pull the rope on one of them bad boys and just watch that thing kick about 200 foot. That'd be wicked.
It'll do it.
And then that thing would probably be empty. That thing would be empty. So say if you had to, I think I've been looking at what, the 1250K kit?
Yeah, so that's going to do about, that pump will do, kind of its sweet spot is around 40 gallons a minute and around 75 pounds of pressure. So
40 gallons a minute.
40, what was that? 40, about
3,000.
About 75 minutes, you'd be empty in 3,000 gallons. A little over an hour.
Wow.
And what is your guys' warranty on these big sprinklers?
Well, there's a standard 1-year warranty on all of our stuff. Really, if something's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong on the first time you use it, really. Not to say that there aren't some imperfections with maybe the sprinkler head or something's leaking and not right, or, you know, as we were putting it together, maybe there was something wrong, but obviously we're going to take care of our customers. But yeah, there's a standard 1-year warranty on all that stuff. But I just had a customer today call, and they have several of our sprinkler carts, and they've had them for 7 years, and they just now bought another head. And the other good thing about these heads too is that we have all the parts as well. We're really one of the main distributors for this company out of Italy. So we hold a lot of the replacement parts. They're not throwaways. I mean, we can rebuild these sprinklers. So taking them apart, replacing the seals, all of that stuff is rebuildable. They're not disposable at all. So that's the other aspect of these, whether you're not going to see that in a home sprinkler system, or a home sprinkler sled is a sprinkler that's made in Italy that can be rebuilt. You're not going to find that in a store. So that's another great thing about all of our sprinkler heads is that, you know, they're not throwaways. And either way, I mean, we're going to take care of you. I mean, we're going to figure out something to make sure it's working and you guys are happy, which kind of goes back to the whole customer service part of really qualifying people, make sure that they're getting the right product so that their expectation meets the actual performance is really key, because people have these big dreams or aspirations of like, man, I need a sprinkler that can shoot out 100 feet, you know, my garden hose. And you're like, hold on, you know, let's reset that expectation. So when you get it, you're not calling me back, you know, calling me a liar or something. But
I think we had that conversation.
Yeah, I think we've had that a couple times. But
and I appreciate all that you've taught me. So it's one of good ways, and I try to share it with others. So
oh yeah, we appreciate that. And that's, you know what, at the end, that's another thing too, as far as our growth and over the years, it's just been word of mouth and based on our customer service. I hear that a lot. It's like, man, I don't get to talk to someone like this on the phone, especially someone that's knowledgeable. You don't hear them flipping through a book trying to read a script or something, or just, you know, yeah, I was going to share something else, but I'm not going to go into that. You know, there was a story about a guy that called a pump place that the guy had no idea what to talk about. It couldn't answer his questions about, and they sell pumps. I was like, what? So, you know, and he called us and was able to talk to him about the different aspects of the pump. And he was just glad to be able to talk to someone that knew what they were talking about. And that's the amount of knowledge that's in this company here, you know, goes 40 years and newer. So if I don't know the answer, there's definitely someone here that does, or can fix a problem or come up with a design or a solution. You know, we're in the solution business here is finding solutions to problems or irrigation issues that don't fit your normal scenario. So
when you're getting calls from customers or people inquiring, like what's the number one thing people are asking, or are people inquiring about like how many inches can it put down like per hour, or, you know,
some of them do. Probably the number one question we get, they usually lead off the conversation with, I've got a three-quarter acre yard that I need to water. I need a sprinkler that cover more than what I'm getting now. And they'll go with the dimensions and the size and what they want it to do. And so I usually like, okay, let's start at how much water do we have to work with? That's usually my number one question I ask customers is like, we got to find out what we're working with, gallons per minute and PSI or your pressure. And that's going to determine your distance, no matter what sprinkler you have, whether it's a Home Depot sprinkler or one of ours. If you have two sprinklers that both have a number 5 nozzle in it, a 5mm nozzle, and you're feeding it the same amount of water and same amount of pressure, theoretically, it should shoot out the same distance. Now, performance will be a little bit varied, but distance and coverage is all determined by your flow and pressure that you're able to feed to it. So that's usually the number one thing that we start our conversations with is like, okay, and if it's a well, then that kind of changes everything, because there's a lot of different scenarios you can do with a well. And as far as flow rates, and it's not coming out of the house, they've got a direct line coming off their well. And so it's, letting people like doing a 5-gallon bucket test. So people like, how do I check my flow? Like, how do I know how many gallons a minute I get? So filling a measured container, a known measured container, and counting the amount of seconds it takes to do it will give you your gallons per minute. So fill a 5-gallon bucket up in 30 seconds. You can do 2 of those in a minute. So you got 10 gallons a minute of flow. So if they don't know that information, we usually say, hey, do a bucket test. If it's a well, then give some information on the pressure. How far do you want to run hose? It's the customers that say, well,
when you say bucket test, what do you mean by bucket test?
Like getting a 5-gallon empty bucket, putting it under the spigot, turning the spigot wide open, putting it under, then starting your timer, and counting how many seconds it takes to fill it all the way full. So if it takes a minute to fill that 5-gallon bucket, you've got 5 gallons a minute of flow. So it's measuring timing and filling the time it takes to fill any measured container will give you your flow rate. So that's what we'll talk to customers about, figuring that part out. Generally, if it's a residential, they're hooking it to their side of their house, that's pretty standard. It's going to be anywhere between 6 to 10 gallons a minute. That's pretty typical. And people are running hose. It's the customers that maybe have that scenario, or even a well, but they're running 400 feet of garden hose and wondering why it's not working. And so it's kind of educating them about water hydraulics. It kind of goes back to that. And the friction loss. Yeah, so friction loss is something, obviously, that's not something you learn about every day either. And that's just, as water moves through anything, pipe, hose, anything, there's turbulence. I'm just going to keep it kind of simple, but the turbulence as water moves through and the velocity that it moves through that will create friction, and that friction kind of eats up your pressure. So that's why if you've ever hooked up a lot of hose, why that pressure is always less at the end of that hose than it is at the spigot. So the further you run that out, then the more pressure you lose than what you started out with. And there's a common misconception too, is people think that if they go with a more narrow hose, that they'll have more pressure. I get that a lot. And I kind of thought the same thing when I first heard that. I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Actually, the only narrow thing that you want in your setup from your hose, your spigot, or your connection to your sprinkler is the nozzle. The more room you can give that set flow of water, or whether it's 20 gallons a minute or 10, you can give it more room to travel to get to the destination. Once it hits the sprinkler and hits that nozzle squeezes it down. And that's what creates the velocity increase and then creates that spray pattern. I use the analogy of putting your thumb over the end of a garden hose. When you do that to make the water spray, you're pretty much simulating nozzles, the different nozzles. So the smaller you make it, the finer the spray is, and the bigger you make it, it changes from a fine spray to a bigger spray or to a stream. So this chart here is another tool that we will, if customers are online at the same time that we're talking with them, we'll have them pull this up. And this goes to the friction loss. And this is a great chart. And these, you can find these online as well as our website. But this is for smooth bore hose. If you look at the top, pressure loss per 100 foot of smooth bore hose. Your left-hand column there is your gallons per minute, and your top column left to right at the top is your diameter of your hose. So if you've got 10 gallons a minute and you're pushing it through a 3/4 inch garden hose, your loss is going to be 13.77 pounds of pressure per 100 feet. So if you run 400 feet of garden hose, 13.77 times 4, you're losing 55 pounds of pressure. And if you started out with 60, well, you're only going to have 5 pounds of pressure at the end. So and this applies to anything, like when you're transporting water, whether it's a lot or a little. So the bigger your hose is, the bigger your pipe is, the more freedom you can have, let that water travel, the less pressure you lose. So like if you move that same 10 gallons a minute through a 1-inch hose, your pressure loss drops to 3.38 pounds per 100 foot. So going that same 400 foot distance, now you're at 13 pounds or 14 pounds of pressure loss as opposed to 55 from going from 3/4 to 1 inch. It's a big difference. A lot of times it doesn't make sense. We don't have the measurement for a 5/8 inch hose on here, but your general standard hose when you go to the store is 5/8 by whatever length. There's usually at least 1 or 2 of the 3/4 inch by 50 or 100 foot. A 5/8 inch hose even robs more pressure. So if you think 10 gallons a minute through 3/4 inch is 13.7, through a 5/8, it's like over 20 pounds of pressure loss per 100 foot. So hose size matters. Size does matter.
Yeah,
There you go, man.
Okay, there we go.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, podcast starts now.
He's warmed up now. He's warmed up.
It was inevitable. It was going to come out.
Yep.
Hey, you
size.
fit it right. You fit it right in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
So that's another thing as far as the education part with our customers, that we take the time to talk about that or explain it, like, hey, this is why this won't work, instead of just saying no, it won't work, or just saying, hey, you know what, I'll take the sale, here you go, because more than likely it's not going to work. And then that's where the word of mouth comes into play. It's like, man, these products suck, I paid a lot of money for it, it doesn't work. 8 to 9 times out of 10, it's usually the setup that's causing a sprinkler not to rotate right. It's a pressure or flow issue. There are times that maybe there is something wrong with it, but that's where kind of the education and the setting the expectation to match the actual performance, and letting them know that and why it's doing that. That's the kind of time and effort we put into all of our customers. And we try to do a really good job at that. And I think that nowadays with online businesses, the way they go, e-commerce, you don't find that a whole lot. And I think that's what more and more of our customers, we're hearing it back from them, saying that, hey, we appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time to educate me on that. Man, I learned something new today, or, you know, that makes total sense. And there's some people that are like, man, I try to keep a pretty high level, but even just a little bit of information can help explain it. And then they know, like, the more information you give somebody to make a valid or a good decision as far as a purchase goes, then the better they feel about it, right? So it makes more sense that way. So that's our goal, and that's kind of Big Sprinkler in a nutshell, as far as I would say our mission and our goal every day. And like all of us as employees, whether we're building or packing or talking on the phone or doing sales or marketing, that's the forefront of what we think about.
So,
That's
right,
awesome.
I have to tell you, man, there's going to be a lot of questions. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to all of them tonight. So, what is a good way for somebody to reach out to you? Because, you know, they're pretty interested in this stuff. So, do you have any contact information that you could give them?
So yeah, on our website, I think at the bottom there's the ability you can send questions in. We read those every morning, and you can leave a question. Where is it at? Contact us. Screen at the top, or down at the bottom, either way, but it'll pull up an email there. You can type a message there. We do our best to go through every one of those and reply back, whether it's just a basic question or this is what we got. Now, sometimes we'll say, hey, it's better if you call us, but it gives us an idea of what you're wanting to do, and we can talk in person to really kind of go more in depth as opposed to an email. But this would be the best way if you just got some questions. But call us too. I mean, our number's there at the top. We're here 8 to 5 Central Time. Usually here a little bit later, but yeah, we do try to do a good job on responding to all of our emails, and as well as Facebook. It's hard to, it gets spread pretty thin, but we try to respond to everybody.
And you guys are on Instagram, correct?
Correct, at Big Sprinkler.
So if somebody got lazy and didn't do that, they could maybe message you guys on there or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I Furt in the Dirt saying, what are you doing next Tuesday? So it sounds like maybe he's going to tie up your entire day on Tuesday.
Sounds good.
All right. So we're kind of at a good stopping point here. I say we give away one of those cool sleds.
Yeah, better. Mm.
And let me pull up my screen here. We'll do one
Pretty
now,
wicked.
maybe one later.
That's pretty wicked.
So
Oh, nice.
we got 45 entries in that, so that's pretty awesome.
Aye,
Nice.
aye,
Oh,
All right.
where's your name in there?
aye.
I see some fake accounts.
Yeah, I saw some. You know,
I'm just kidding.
they started tricking a little bit more down at the end.
Maybe I should have made me a fake account.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I want some wobblehead, man.
All right, so we're gonna shuffle
like
three
that.
times, and we'll spin it. So this is for the first sled. You get your choice of those three. So here we go. Good luck. Oh, that was
that's
close. Kenny almost got that one. I'm sure he was excited, but came out with Robert Check.
Congrats, Bobby.
Congratulations. Send a message to the KOTG account, and we'll get that over to Rod there to with your information and get that out to you.
Yeah, just let me know which one of the three that they want, and we'll get it sent out.
You may
that's
have to make a
awesome.
phone call and figure out which one's best for him.
That's
Hey,
true. We'll help
yeah.
you decide if you don't, if you can't figure it out, we'll help you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Can't beat that.
Well, we're also before we start back up with Big Sprinkler, we're at a good time to also do our KOTG Lawn of the Week. So,
Oh, yeah.
for those that don't know, KOTG, Keep Off the Grass, group of guys on Instagram. We like to see the lawns
Party.
that are out there. And the best way for us to see your lawn is to use the hashtag KOTG Lawn of the Week. When you use that hashtag on a post or a story, I'm sorry, a reel. I don't know. I say that every single week. Post and a reel, we will see that because the stories disappear after 24 hours. We'll go back and we'll debate a little bit on your guys' lawns and see which one we think is the best looking one that week. Okay. So we're back up to, we had the top three again. Last week we had a top four. So a couple of you guys kept in it this week in that top three category. And so this week we have.
What do they win?
Oh, yeah. So if you win KOTG Lawn of the Week,
Party.
you get a bag of your choice of NPK Pro Peat fertilizer, or we found out last week, Pro Peat will actually give you a bag of Fossil, PHOSUL. So this is the second winner. Our last week winner chose that bag of Fossil. So now you guys moving forward will get a choice of Pro Peat fertilizer or Fossil, which is pretty awesome stuff.
It's like a 01604.
Yeah. And go back and watch last week's episode to find out more about that. It's a very cool product that's out there now. You can get it on homedepot.com as well. All right. So without further ado, we chose, I want to say this right, Spring Lawn.
Domination.
Hey-oh.
Well, that's
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah, that is a neighbor domination right there for sure.
Exactly. I don't want to live next to that.
Yeah, that's like
That's some good color.
So this is
dark
Brandon Springer. I'm hoping I'm saying it right. SPRENG, and then it's an ER, but it's Spring Lawns on Instagram. So yeah, that is one nice looking lawn there.
Yeah, like even this light stripe is dark.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah.
like,
It's dark.
that is dark.
Can you imagine driving down that street and you're like, no, that's brown, that's brown, that's brown. Whoa, that's a green.
Yeah, I'd crash.
They probably drive into it.
Yeah.
My neighbor he switched his over to fescue and he waters it like crazy. He won, like, I think it was last summer, yard of the month in the neighborhood. I was like, really? I was like, I'll keep my yard like this so it makes yours look better, right?
You're right.
But yeah,
that was gonna be a future question
fescue
what
looks
year.
good.
Yeah.
So congrats, Brandon Spring Lawns, for dominating your neighbors.
Well, even his backyard, I see some checkers back
Yeah,
there.
no kidding.
Wow.
Take it
Yeah.
easy.
Playing around.
Let's
Compared
see
to the backyard of
backyard
the
all day
neighbor,
right
man.
there.
That is nice.
Go inside.
I want to
Do
see
with
it
your
from
family.
behind.
Oh gosh.
So they're asking where Brandon's from. I actually don't know.
Iowa,
Is it Iowa?
pretty sure.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. I'll have to. Oh, yeah. In Iowa, you're right. I clicked on one of his pictures. So, yeah. And Nate would attest to this being a nice yard too, because they've been dealing with a lot of heat and a lot of the neighbors are just letting it go. But Brandon definitely's keeping up on it, making it look nice. Looks like some of
yeah,
that
that's
neighbor's
awesome.
getting a little green around their tree, so they're getting a
I wonder
little
if he's giving
benefit.
it some fur.
Yeah, that or water. The water's kind of leaking
Oh,
down
yeah.
and
True.
keeping the grass
Uh-huh.
wet for them.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool. Congrats.
Yeah, congrats.
Awesome.
We'll reach out to you and get your information and find out which of the Pro Pete product you want to try. But keep it up. Again, everybody, if you didn't win this week, just keep on keeping on, because you might win next week or the week after. We're
Yeah,
kind of
if you don't
coming in.
Hey, you don't win.
Yeah, we're coming into that fall time. Everybody's lawn's going to start coming back and popping, and it's going to be harder on us for the decision. So keep doing what you guys are doing.
Yeah,
We got a
people need
question.
a big sprinkler to keep it moist, to keep the seed moist. in the
Hey.
fall.
Exactly.
It's coming up.
This
Oh, I
PTO
can't wait.
driven pump, what does it deliver?
Do what now? Oh, the PTO pumps?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, Olee
you're-
slid
you're-
right into that, man, right into the big sprinkler.
Yeah, you're getting into some bigger stuff there. So if you have a tractor, and that's another thing too, if you don't want to deal with a gas pump that's got a limited gas supply on the tank, and you have a tractor that you can spare to run a PTO pump, I mean, those are going to put out a lot of flow. Like that big 3-inch gun cart that I was talking about. We have a pump that can supply close to that, but not up to 500 gallons a minute. But that's where a PTO pump would come into play. I thought we had a picture of a PTO
It's on the-
pump. And,
On this catalog, that's the reason I seen it. Let me go.
is it? Let's see if
You
we have
got-
it in our website.
You
But
got that, Brent?
we demonstrated that 3-inch gun cart with the PTO pump, and we had it shooting back out into the pond. It's an amazing picture. But yeah, those that's when you're getting into some big serious stuff. But to run those big ones, you need something, either a big diesel pump or something that can kind of put out that flow and that type of pressure. And that's where PTO pumps come into play. That's a whole other level, man.
Man, that would make one heck of a birthday party with one of those and slip and slide. Ah, dang, boy.
And you don't want to get hit with that water coming out.
Yeah, I didn't invite-
that nozzle's like an inch, an
Yeah.
inch in diameter, an inch stream
I
of
didn't-
water coming out. It's crazy.
I didn't
Like a
invite
rate
your ass.
control.
That's when you say I didn't invite your ass and you turn it right around there.
Get out of here.
That'll get them to move, definitely.
Probably knock tops off and everything.
You're looking at the tractor PTO pumps. Olee, is that where you're at?
Yeah, I had a picture of it was a manual that came with one of my sleds, and it was just a picture of it, and right on the front was a PTO driven pump.
Yeah, like
If you go on the website and go to sprinkler carts,
There
yeah,
it is.
there you go. There's the PTO pump. So yeah, you would hook that up to your PTO on your tractor, and that's
So
gonna
what's
put
the
out-
difference
So
between
open that
40
one up there.
on the 40?
Yeah, you can just open
Okay.
that one up, and so
And
if
that
you
thing's
click
got a
on
1
specifications
inch
there.
stream.
Gee, look at that thing, man.
Damn. That's,
Well,
Holy cow!
that's a freaking
the sprinkler head
gun.
that you're going to run with something like that, the nozzles are big.
Yeah, that looks like
Dude.
a portable fire hydrant, man.
Gonna rip out that grass.
It would-
Exactly. So yeah, you're on like that when you're up into the 330 gallon a minute range, at about 150 pounds of pressure, or 150. Well, no, that's not right. This chart isn't right. Let me make a note of that. Change that. I don't know if the specs on these PTO pumps are right, but so as they get bigger, the T140 versus the T380 or T3100, they're just a bigger pump, and they put out more water. Like the biggest one we have will do 800 gallons a minute at about 180 psi.
The
Jeez.
T380 one, as we said.
That one there's a T4100 that we don't list there, but we have,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I mean, you got to have one heck of a water supply. You got to throw it in a river or something.
Like Lake Powell or Lake Mead or
Yeah.
something like that. Or
Yeah, who's using this?
that's probably where it's all going.
People
Somebody's got their sprinkler hooked up to them.
People pulling out of a river. There's a guy that's pulling out
Oh,
of a
there you
river, and
go.
he's hooked up like 2 of these big 3-inch gun carts, doing 300 gallons a minute each, so
Jeez.
600 total. And he's running 4 6-inch line,
That's
which is
crazy.
about what you need to run stuff like
Oh,
that.
wow.
So if you go up there to products there,
Yeah.
and then click on these portable sprinkler stands on the top left, and then the first wheel sprinkler cart. Go down all the way to the bottom, see our big 3-inch gun cart. That
That
one
one.
there, open that one up. And the picture doesn't even do it any justice. We have those big tires, foam filled, which makes them weigh about 90 pounds a piece.
Whoa!
And just to give it the stability. So if you hit right click, see, this is part
Holy
of that
cow.
second right there, that picture there.
Yeah.
We ended up designing these drop down auger type things. So the stability of that, when you're pushing out that much water at that much pressure, that whole cart, even though it weighs about 300 pounds, will just slide around. So those little drop downs will start digging into the dirt and just keep it more stable.
That's awesome.
I think if you go to the right more, there's more pictures of action pictures. Click on that.
Oh, yeah. There's it using.
So that one right there, that's actually being powered from a PTO pump. We're pulling out of that pond, shooting back into it.
Mhm.
It's big, man.
Do people use it for ponds to
No, we just happen to just put the water back into the pond when we're
Okay.
just running it. But people are going to pull out of a pond like that and water huge areas in a short amount of time, obviously.
Mm.
Man, I wish
So-
I had a water supply. I know who I'd be talking to tomorrow morning.
Exactly.
Dang.
So that would be like a big example of our big gun.
Okay.
So
Oh, that's awesome.
Jeez.
That's
so
different.
yeah, that's like I say, we're going from the sleds to something like that. I mean, we cover a huge broad spectrum of things, and
Mhm.
what's cool about it, since we're in the ag business and deal with the bigger stuff like that, that's where the knowledge base comes in. So there are, people that want to supplement their center pivots on crops that don't get the corners of the field. They'll hook up one of these big gun carts to their pivot line or something like that. So there's a lot of uses for it. So yeah, we do cover a lot of different aspects. And the other cool thing is just things that we come up and develop, like that hose reel. I don't know if you saw that on there too, but we came up with a lay flat hose reel, like a storage deal. All this stuff we design and, play around with during the wintertime and figure out a way to actually produce it in a cost effective way to sell. So that's the other cool thing about this job is kind of the R&D and getting ideas from customers or saying, hey, what about this? Or just getting feedback and just seeing how they perform. And so, from doing this from 2009, we've come up with a lot of different tweaks on how to make them better and stable. And this looks the newer version is different from this one here. We've changed the axle on it, but still
Olee
weighs
just sent
like
it to me.
25 pounds. That's probably our number one seller right there. That's what we started out, kind of our first design was
Yep.
this size of a cart.
That's
And
the
that
first
head
one I
right there
got.
the nozzle set that comes with it will let it work with 6 gallons a minute all the way up to 25 gallons a minute. So
Damn.
even that range right there is pretty versatile. You can run a hose, garden hose, or you can do a 1-inch hose or 1.5-inch hose, 25 gallons a minute. So
That's like an impact, or what is that?
yeah, that's an impact head.
That's called the funny, right?
It's
The
called
funny
the
head.
funny. Yeah. A lot of people ask us like, why is it funny?
Head.
It's going on tour, comic tour.
And Rod,
No, it's
hey, I
just
don't
what they know
know.
how to
I don't
do.
know if it's if you guys give advice, like this one right here, you say you could run with a garden hose. Do you guys recommend like, hey, this is the material type of hose you should be using? Do you guys ever do that? I mean, do you guys
When it
do you
comes
tell people, hey, stay away from this or that?
Well, sometimes, but most of the time, it's more about hose size and diameter. Going back to size here, a lot of people like those lay flat, those little kink free,
Yeah.
type hoses. I know I've tried one. We actually were looking at one of those green ones, those 0G whatever.
They're a
And I
pain
tried
in
it at
the
home, and it was a
Mhm.
pain because it kept kinking, and it just wasn't a good fit. But no, we generally it's more about the hose diameter. We would just recommend, hey, whether you buy it from us or not, a 3/4 inch hose is definitely going to be better than a 5/8 as far as maximizing your performance to get the most out of what you got coming. And that's kind of going back. That's really a lot of it is like, how can we maximize your potential with the water that you have coming out? Like a lot of times you can't change your flow and pressure, or you can change your pressure with maybe a booster pump, but a lot of times you have what you have. So then it's
That
more
really
about,
has to
okay,
do with
let's
like
let's
what,
maximize that. Let's find a way to get the most out of it, and this is what it takes. So we'll
like
give
your
them
pipe,
recommendations that way. Your
your
hoses, your
actual pipe,
pipes.
and your pipe coming out of your house. That's probably like
Yeah,
really
that's
like
a big thing. Most of the time you're stuck with a pipe that's in your house because usually it goes in that PEX pipe, and sometimes it can be 1/2 inch going to your outside spigot or
The city don't want to touch that.
yeah. So that's probably the kind of recommendations we usually give, not really based on like material or whatnot. We just try to give information and guidance on getting the most out of it and getting the most water on the ground in the best spray pattern possible. And that's the other thing too, is you can shoot a single stream out pretty far, but it's more about getting the quality of spray over distance.
Water curtain.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, people want to go distance first, and then there's your arc or your rain curtain second, and it's really, tune it in to get your rain curtain first, and then try to maximize your distance once you get that complete coverage. But yeah, that's kind of the advice we try to talk people through. So
Awesome.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
nice
and
thing about these here, you can set them up to 90 degrees, a full
Mhm.
360, 180. You can do what depending on what you're covering, you can put it in the corner or out in the middle. So
there's one else thing I want to say. Can you go back to the website?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's pretty cool is Robert that just won that wobbly. He wants the wobbler, but
Okay.
what's pretty cool is he just sent me a message, said I was going to order that when I got paid Friday. So
Yeah.
that just made his
Awesome.
week.
Hey, that deal right there in the middle of that traveling sprinkler.
Hold down.
Traveling sprinkler. Yep.
Yeah. So this is a small version of. There's obviously bigger versions of this, but what makes these nice is you can pull that out. It goes out about 160 feet, and then you feed it with up to 10, 12 gallons a minute of water, and then it uses the water to spin a turbine and pulls it back. And then it shuts it off once the cart reaches back to the reel. And it can give you a watered swath that's close to maybe 200 by 80 foot, and shuts itself off when it comes back. It clicks the lever and it plunger shoots down and it shuts the water off. But this is we sell a lot of these. It's hard these come from
That's
Italy as
cool.
well. It's called a Traveler. And then they obviously have bigger versions of this with huge hose. But this is really popular for people that just want to they don't want to move stuff around, just like pull this thing out.
Yeah.
It uses the water kind of as horsepower, your flow and your pressure to spin the turbine, to turn the gears, to pull it backwards. And a lot of arenas use that as well.
Can you adjust how quick it comes back to home?
Yeah. So it's hard to see in this picture, but there's a little green lever. So you can determine how much water gets diverted into this black round turbine down here. Yeah, there you go. This little round thing underneath the yellow hose. That's the turbine. So as water comes in, the inlet there, the inlet over here to the left, the gauge there, left hand, you hook your hose there, it comes in, and it can either go bypass and go down and into this tube and go straight out to the sprinkler, or it can go into this yellow tube, come through the turbine, spin the turbine, and then join back up with the water going out. And so the more water you go through the turbine, the more flow, the faster it spins the turbine, the faster it pulls back. So now some of the bigger ones you can actually set, like, hey, I want to do it this slow to get a half an inch or whatnot. This one you can kind of slow down. Your ability to slow it down has to do with how much water you have to be able to split it up, because it still needs water to retract it back. Otherwise, it's just going to stay out there. But
so sit down over here.
Awesome.
That's need about 30 to 60 psi to use.
Yeah, I would say at 35 is probably the lowest you want to go. You're probably not going to be adjusting speed at 35 psi. We have a regulator on it that keeps it at 60. So even if you hit it with more, it's going to regulate it to 60 into the machine. So it protects it. So this is a really popular. It's hard to keep these in stock, and we get these shipped over from Italy as well. So,
man, this has got me wanting stuff. Ain't good.
That's why I was showing it to you, Olee.
The salesman's coming out.
Biggest customer.
No, it's cool. It's cool that you know your stuff, and you're not like pitching some like, oh, we got the best sprinklers because of this and that. Like, you're talking like specs, and you're talking, gallons per minute, and like that's what's cool. Like
I think that's what's important is just dealing with people in general and explaining something that they're going to purchase. Especially, these aren't priced cheap, and there's a reason why. And so people want to know what they're investing in. With any purchase, like I was saying before, the more information you can give them and educate them, then the better they feel about, okay, this is the right product for me. I made a good purchase. And then setting that expectation as far as performance goes, and they're not disappointed when they get it and pissed off that they spent $200 and like, wow, this is junk, because we didn't take the time to go over with them, like, or qualify them, saying, hey, this is not a good fit, and here's why, and this is maybe what you can do different, or here's a better sprinkler for you instead of this big one. So obviously we're here to sell. We're a business. Any business is in to have profit and grow, but I think that comes along with giving good customer service and educating people on something that really, unless someone tells you about it, it's not something you learn in school, or unless you're in the industry, you're not going to learn about water hydraulics. So it's not like just going to the store and pulling something off the shelf and buying it and then returning it, later. So yeah, we do try to spend time, and obviously I'll tell people, hey, this, especially if it's a small sprinkler, I'm like, this probably is not going to shoot any further than your Home Depot sprinkler, because they have the same size nozzle and you're feeding it the same amount of water. But what is different is the quality, especially with the smaller stuff, is the quality of it. It's not going to give you more. Not if you got 8 gallons a minute of water, it's going to water about the same. So I think being honest and upfront with people too, because they'll tell me like, man, thank you for being honest. Like, just telling me, like, not telling me, oh yeah, this will outperform your current sprinkler. No, it's not. It's going to probably do the same distance, but you're not going to throw it away at the end of the year either. So yeah, just being upfront and honest with people and educating them. I think that's what really good sales is.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a throwaway unit. It's years after years. And when I first got mine, I tried to keep them out of the sun. I tried to keep them put up, and hate to say it here lately, they stay in the weather, and it don't, other than stickers fading, they just keep on kicking.
That's awesome.
That's what we try to make.
They'll sing you to sleep. What's wicked's when I got 2 of them out there running, and they get like an offbeat pattern. You hear them popping back and forth.
When you get those big guns running, they're mesmerizing, man. I'll just stand out there and watch them throwing water, 200 feet. And just like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm thankful for you guys having me on. Just be able to just tell more people about who we are and what we do and what makes us different than the next guy. And man, check us out, bigsprinkler.com. Give us a call. The number's on the website, and be happy to talk with you guys.
Yes.
We got to give one more away.
Yeah, somebody wanted to see the electric booster pump, so I was just going to show that real quick.
Yeah.
So basically, you go into where did it go?
Pump center.
Yeah, go back up to the front. So down to pump center, and then there's the booster pumps electric, and then you just got all these here to click on. So
yeah, so they go from a 3/4 horse all the way to like a horse and a half. The yellow ones are Davy pumps. Those are US made pumps. They're a very popular booster pump, kind of a Cadillac of booster pumps. The price kind of reflects that. But those are great booster pumps. But that top one that we brought in is a pump that's made in Italy as well, and it's the price point on it is a little more palatable. But what's nice about all these is that these controllers on the top here. So when it senses water, the change in pressure or flow, it kicks on the pump automatically. And then when it stops, the pump stops. So it's a controller. So you don't have to, you're not going to burn your pump up because, something stopped. So people they'll boost their own irrigation, in-ground irrigation with this. You can boost anything with it.
Yeah.
So like if you open it, can you open up one of these charts or just one of these?
Which one?
Quick?
Just
any of them.
Okay. Yeah. We'll go with this one.
Real quick, the specifications tab there. So what this shows you, and explaining this to people, is like what this is telling you is if you put in 5 gallons a minute, if you're feeding it 5 gallons a minute, it'll add another 36 pounds of pressure on top of what you fed it with. So if you had 5 gallons a minute at 30 pounds of pressure, it's going to spit out 5 gallons a minute at 66 pounds of pressure. That's how boost pumps work. And that's when you look at these charts, that's what they mean. That's how you interpret them.
Gotcha.
But if you can't interpret it, give us a call. We'll help you figure it out.
That's right. All right. So yeah, we got one more wobble sled, or I guess any sled that you pick. The last one shows a wobble sled. So let's share that screen again real quick. All right, so now 44 names. We lost one, of course, the winner. So I'm going to shuffle 3 more times again just to mix it up. And good luck to you guys.
Oh man!
Hey,
Chill got robbed.
Matthew Cohen. Congrats, man. All right. So yeah, shoot us a message. Let us know one of those sleds you want. We'll get that information over to Rod, and they'll hook you up, man. So awesome. We appreciate that, Rod.
Thank you, Rod.
Thanks for doing that for our viewers and educating us, man. I've learned a lot. I had no clue that I even needed to know. Now I know it. So appreciate you coming on and doing that.
It was probably one of my favorite episodes, honestly.
Yeah.
This
I'll pay
cool.
you later, dude. That's okay. Thanks for saying that.
No, really.
Because a lot of us, we hook up a hose and a sprinkler and we just kind of like, oh, okay, this is what you do. But this kind of gave us a science behind it, a lot of information about how to do it better. And of course, with your product, we're getting a better quality sprinkler to put it out there. So, yeah, no, this is great.
That's it, man. We just try to create a better commercial grade product that's going to last. And I'm not going to spend this much time with a customer on the phone, but I'm going to give them the same amount of information or the same type of information. And depending on how the conversation is going, is breaking it down, how complicated you get with it. You just kind of have to read the customer. But what I just shared with you guys is what we share with customers every day, to some degree, at some point. So that's what we do here, man.
All right. Well, go on the website, contact them or call them or be lazy and shoot them a message on Instagram and they'll give it to you and answer everything you guys want to know.
Sounds good.
All right, Rod, we appreciate it. And everybody in the live chat, thanks for sticking around and participating tonight. You guys had a lot of great questions.
Woo.
Sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but the guys over at Big Sprinkler are available to answer all those questions for you. So we appreciate it, and we will see you guys next week.
Stick around for a couple minutes, Rod. Stick around a couple minutes.